Well, now what? Making social media work for you. I'm glad you're on the webinar with us today. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your busy day. And this webinar is presented to you by the Countess Group, Marketing and Communications. I'll tell you a little bit more about me and about us in just a few moments. I just want to let you know that the Countess Group is a full-service marketing consultancy. We handle strategic marketing and communications, tactical marketing as well. If you need help with your email marketing campaigns or your social media marketing strategy and tactics, maybe you need a new website built, maybe you are interested in public relations or video marketing, just about anything you need related to marketing we can help you with. This is my contact information. For attending today, you'll get a copy of the presentation, but what I'd like you to keep note of is our social media presence. As you can see, and of course this is a social media webinar, we're very active on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and Instagram. We have a very active YouTube channel. I would encourage you to connect with us on each one of those channels. We're posting on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn about 3 times a day. And it's all information that will help you be a better marketer, no matter what type of an organization you're with. We are master certified by Constant Contact. Constant Contact puts us through, those of us who have achieved that designation, a very rigorous training and vetting process. And the Countess Group is also a Microsoft Sales Specialist partner and a Google partner as well. And I did mention Master Certification by Constant Contact, and we were honored to have received their 2014 All-Star Award, and we're very proud of that designation. It's not given to very many organizations. If you have not joined me for one of these webinars in the past, I want to welcome you. And if you're joining us again, I want to welcome you as well. For those of you who are new to the Countess Group, here's a bit of my background. I spent over 25 years in corporate America, most of that time at Motorola. Also worked in hospitality at Marriott, in healthcare at CVS Caremark. I still remain an equity partner in a company called Ascend Marketing, which has 40 marketing professionals, and we partner on projects from time to time as well. And some of our clients over the last 15 years include the names that you see on the screen, as well as scores of small to medium-sized businesses and nonprofits, probably just like yours. Having come out of corporate America, I was very accustomed to having a full-time staff that if we needed any marketing work done, I could always call on somebody to do it. If the paycheck showed up regularly, health benefits were pretty much a given. But I know as an entrepreneur now, and again, we're in our 15th year, it's very different. And if you're a small to medium-sized business or nonprofit, the odds are pretty good that you don't have the luxury of a large staff to help you with your marketing efforts. So you're in the right place. Here you will learn the things that you need to know to be a more effective marketer, and perhaps give you the time that you need to dedicate to either running your business or nonprofit, or maybe you just need a little bit more free time. And either way, I think you'll come away with some very helpful information to help you get there. I want to let you know that we'll have several great offers available for you. They're only available for a limited time, and I'll present them at the end of the webinar. So be sure you stick around for the whole thing. If you leave early, you won't be able to have access to it, and I think you'll be missing out on some great opportunities. So before we jump right into the content, I want to let you know that this is a webinar that is highly interactive. And so during the course of the event, I'm going to pose a few questions to you in the way of a poll. And just so you see how easy it'll be to participate, I'm going to launch this poll right now. And it's really simple. How many webinars have you attended in the past year? Go ahead and cast your vote. We'll leave it open for just another few seconds. Looks like we have someone who used the question box. That's okay too. Okay, we'll close the poll, and here's what you said. 60% of you have been on a webinar, between 1 and 3 webinars over the past year. About a quarter of you on the webinar have been between 4 and 6. And a few of you are webinar junkies, just like me, where you've attended 7 or more webinars in the last year. So that'll give you a feel for how these things work. And I've got one other question for you before we get into the content. Here we go. The question is, how did you learn about this webinar? Was it via email? Was it via social media? Was it word of mouth? Or was it a combination of the above? So go ahead and click one of those 4 buttons. We'll leave the poll open for just another moment or two. Okay, so we'll close the poll. And here's what you said. The vast majority, really no surprise, the vast majority learned about the webinar via email, a few via social media, a little bit more than that, word of mouth, and a combination of the above. Okay, so let's get into the content here. Let's get started. Here's what we're going to talk about. You may have attended our beginners social media webinar, Getting Started with Social Media. And in that one, I briefly overviewed each of the big 5 social networks: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, so you could get a better idea of what each channel was about. Now, today's webinar is going to go into a little bit more depth about each of these social networks. That's why we're here today. We want you to be sure that you're using the right social media network to promote your business or nonprofit. And each of these channels is a little bit different. Some may be a good fit for you and some may not, and that's okay. You don't need to use every social network. I'm going to help you find out what's right for your organization, so you can focus your time on the social networks that matter for you, your business, your audience, your nonprofit. And within each network, we'll take a look at the following. We're going to help you answer the question, is it right for my organization? I'll show you how to create content specifically for each social network. You'll see an example of how other organizations are using each of these channels. And after a look at the networks, I'll give you some next steps to move forward, including specific recommendations and also the do's and don'ts of social media marketing. And you'll learn the etiquette so you can make a good impression online. And I'll also discuss how to know if the channels you're using and the content you're creating is working. So to help me help you, let me ask you another question. Just answer this poll for me. This will give me a good sense of who's participating today. Let me know, is your organization a business-to-business entity? Are you business to consumer, or are you nonprofit? In just a second, we'll close the poll. Okay, very good. So thanks for your feedback, and here's what you said. We're fairly evenly split between B2B and B2C, and nonprofits make up a pretty good percentage as well. And so this will help me understand how to best tailor my comments so that, again, so you get the most out of this webinar. I want to share some data with you. This is a look at how social media drives web traffic. And take a look at this chart. This is over a 3-year period from the end of 2011 until the end of last year. And take a look at how Facebook is driving so much traffic to websites. Facebook is driving more traffic to websites than all other social media combined, with the exception, I'm sorry, not with the exception, but far and away more than any other social media. Pinterest, that's the red line going across the lower third of the screen. Pinterest is driving a surprising amount of traffic to websites. You'll see why in a few moments. And all those other social media channels, much, much less. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about each of the social networks, and let's figure out which ones are right for your business. And so let's start with Facebook. It's obviously the most popular of the social channels. It has over 1.7 billion with a B users, and many small businesses and nonprofits are already using it in their marketing. And if you have prospects or customers or volunteers or donors, the chances are pretty good that they're already on Facebook. But is it right for you? Well, if you're a B2C, business to consumer, Facebook can be a good fit for you. Take a look at that number. 89% of your peers are using it for marketing, and many of them are finding success with Facebook. If you're a B2B in the business-to-business arena, many of your peers are using it to reach out to customers and clients. And if you are with a nonprofit, just about all nonprofit organizations are using Facebook. The number is 91%. So this is one way to help figure out if Facebook is a good fit. Is it working for a business or a nonprofit like yours? Well, let's think about how to make Facebook effective. It can work for you if you use best practices to grow your audience and keep them engaged with the content you're sharing. And here are some realities about Facebook marketing, and there are some practical things to consider. You need to be visible and active to reach your fans, and you have to keep up with the conversations that are happening on Facebook. So you need resources for Facebook marketing, and you need to make some time for it during your week. So let's get a feel for what your resource level is within your organization. How many people are in your organization? And we've got a pretty good spread. This is interesting. About the majority of those on the webinar, in terms of one single category, the majority have somewhere between 2 and 5 people in the organization. 6 to 25, 26 to 100, pretty good size, and a few solopreneurs out there, and a good number of organizations that have more than 100 within their confines. So if you have the resources and the time and the staff, Facebook will be fairly straightforward for you. You can probably assign the activity to someone. If you're not in a position where you've got that luxury, I'll be showing you a couple of marketing automation resources that will help you to make the job a little bit easier for you. The amount of time you put into it is really up to you. You do need some resources, some time, some people, some effort. The amount of time, again, is up to you. With Facebook marketing, really all social marketing, you get out of it what you put into it. So who's going to run your page? Is it you, or is it someone on your staff? You need a person who's dedicated and focused on your page. So do you have things to say about your business? Can you share news, photos, events, and tips? If you deal with sensitive or private or competitive information, can you share things instead about your corporate culture or your industry or your local area instead? Facebook is playing a big role in search right now. Not only are people searching through the traditional search engines like Google and Bing, they're using mobile search and a Facebook mobile app to find businesses and check into them. So the more people talk about you and check in, the more you'll come up in a search. So let's talk a little bit more about Facebook volume. You know, Facebook is a low volume, high value network which means that your frequency should be low. Fans get frustrated if they see that a business or a brand is dominating their newsfeed. But every piece of content you post should be valuable to your audience. In other words, you do need to plan ahead. Don't post just to post. You need to be strategic about your content, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. I'd suggest that you post at least 3 times a week to keep your relationship with your fans going and be visible to them. But don't go overboard. 10 times a week, 2 times a day on average is plenty to keep top of mind with your fans. And when you're sharing content on Facebook, again, don't just post to post. Focus on quality content. And what is that quality content? Well, let's talk about some best practices to keep in mind for when you're creating Facebook content. Fortunately, there really is a good rule of thumb that will help you come up with the right things to talk about on social media. And if you took our Getting Started with Social Media webinar, you've seen this before, so this may be a little bit of a refresher for you, but it will certainly be helpful for you to remember and keep in mind. About half of the content you post should be aimed at getting likes and shares and comments. This means it needs to be entertaining and invite conversation. Asking questions, asking for opinions, using images and video, as well as being timely. So for example, is there an event or a holiday coming up? One word of caution. When you're posting content, do not in your post ask people to like or comment or share it. Facebook penalizes you for doing that. 30% of your content should be useful, informative. Provide information about your industry that your customers will find interesting. Become known as a source of important information and tips, whether that content is from your own blog or from other blogs you trust. And if you do all that stuff correctly, then you've earned the right for about 20% of your content to be direct calls to action for your business. Now, this call to action doesn't necessarily have to be buy now. So let's take a look at some different types of content. And let's keep these best practices in mind when you see the examples. And even though these examples are all about Facebook, you can apply them to any social media channel you currently use. Here's another question for you, real simple. Are you currently using social media for your business or nonprofit? Okay, not too terribly surprising. Just about everybody on the webinar is already using social media to some description, and that's good. And I think that what you'll find is that there's something out there that's probably going to work extraordinarily well for your organization. All right, so let's move ahead. Well, text updates are a really quick and easy way to update your Facebook fans, and you can get great interaction if you do them right. A fill-in-the-blank post, for example, is a really easy post that you can do that will spark conversation, probably about 50% of your content. And, there's stuff that we've done with Pinterest. We ask fans to share their opinion. You can ask your audience a question, another way to allow them to share an opinion and start a conversation. And maybe you can share a fun fact or tip. People love trivia, and they love insider tips they may not have heard before. And this is something that you can do for the 30% of content that's useful and informative. So text updates are all easy ways to generate conversation and sharing on Facebook, but it's also important to share multimedia on Facebook. So let's talk about some ideas for visual content. Visual content really is an important part not only of your Facebook marketing, but any social media marketing you do. 90% of information transmitted to the brain is visual. We see before we read. On Facebook, visual content gets the best engagement. In fact, photos are liked 2 times more than text updates. So you need to be sharing photos on Facebook. The easiest way to do this is with the Instagram app, which Facebook owns. You can share photos individually, and you can add an Instagram app to your Facebook page, and your fans can go to the app anytime to check out your Instagram stream. Try combining images and text to make a text update a little more visually interesting and visually appealing. When we share tips, you can often use a royalty-free stock image or a graphic and add text to it using a free photo editing app. One of those out there is called PicMonkey. And videos are another great way to bring your content to life. Keep them short and with a clear description. And if you produce digital content like blog posts or guides or ebooks, it's easy to create a visual post. Just link to your digital content in the Facebook post. It will pull any images that are on the web page, and you can choose which one you want to appear with the link in the newsfeed. So I know many of you listening today have most likely tried both text and multimedia content on Facebook. I want to know which kind has gotten you more engagement from your audience. So just give me your thoughts by letting me know in the chat window. What's been more effective for your audience on Facebook? Text or multimedia, photos and videos? Or you can even share your best post with me. Was it text, a photo, or video? What was it about? Go ahead and use the question box and let me know. Many people in the audience are saying that photos have worked best. I've got a few colleagues online with me today that said the best they've ever gotten was from a photo album. We have somebody that says videos. We have many people actually that say videos. Photo and video announcement, events that you've had. Yeah, see, all of that is really, really great. These are best practices that you want to keep in mind. So, here's a content exercise. You can go through this when you get the copy of the presentation. You'll be getting it in an email. Make sure that you look for this email following the webinar. The subject line will start something like, "Thank you for attending." And inside the email, you'll have a downloadable link. You'll be able to download the copy of the presentation. And this content exercise will be in there. Something that can help you a lot is an editorial calendar. And this can be as simple as a blank calendar you print out and keep at your desk, or scheduling Facebook posts in your Outlook calendar. Having a calendar helps you figure out what to post so that your important messages are getting out there. And you're consistent and interacting with your fans. You don't need to plan very far in advance. You can plan for the upcoming week. You know what's coming up as far as events or sales, products, or anything happening at your business that's been planned. And at the end of the week, start scheduling some content ideas for next week. But also be flexible. Save some spaces for something that comes up at the last minute, or to share something interesting that you found. So who's doing this right? Who is successful with their Facebook marketing? Well, a great example is Boloco. That's a chain of burrito restaurants in New England. They use a lot of the best practices I'm talking about. They ask questions to get their fans talking about them and sharing their opinions, and they share multimedia. They take lots of photos and videos about what they do, information about their products, a look behind the scenes, charity and community outreach. They're helpful to their fans. They answer their questions. They address concerns. They provide information about their menu items. And they get their fans involved in their content. And they regularly share fans' Instagram photos on the page, or they'll make them from the Boloco cover page photo. So what do you do next? Well, if you're using Facebook for your organization, what are some things that you can try next? Well, I have a few suggestions for you. You can try a fill-in-the-blank question, or you can create and share visual content, or monitor your content as well. Make sure you monitor your content. See if it's engaging your audience or not. Our next social network is Twitter. So what makes Twitter stand out from the other social networks? Well, it's the fastest moving. When you check out Twitter, you'll see posts tweeted in real time. And there's a lot being posted at a very rapid pace. It's become a place to watch breaking news. Twitter has over 300 million users, and over 400 million tweets are posted daily through Twitter. But should you use Twitter for your business or nonprofit? There are a lot of B2C, business to consumer, on Twitter at about 80%. As for B2B, a little bit more. Slightly more are using it. The number there is 85. And lastly, nonprofits are using Twitter as well, but at a smaller rate. So this is the landscape for your peers, but is Twitter right for you? It is a fast-paced network. You do want to be sure that you're providing real-time conversation. It's a hungry beast, so you need the resources to feed it. The first of those, just like Facebook, is resources to dedicate to Twitter, time and staff. You need to have someone spend time finding and sharing content. On Twitter, it's important to share content you create, but it's also important and valuable to curate content. Curating means sharing content you found on other websites or blogs. And that's one of the things that can help you form relationships through Twitter. People love it when you share their content, and they'll be more willing to have a public conversation with you on Twitter. Thank you, and share your stuff. You need resources for monitoring Twitter, to keep track of what's being said about you, and to address questions or comments. And you can really build your brand and reputation on Twitter. The more content you share and the more content you create, the more interesting and useful content you share is being created by others, you'll show that you're an expert in your industry. It says you're tuned in to what's happening, and people will turn to you when they're looking for information or advice. Twitter is a high-volume, low-value network, very different from Facebook. This means because of the high volume of conversations happening on Twitter, you need to tweet several times a day. We suggest that it be at least 5 times a day to be visible in that high-volume stream of content. And there's really no maximum recommendation for tweets, but make sure you're spacing them out over time. Don't send them all out at once. Your content will then dominate a feed, and people will get frustrated. When you're sharing content on Twitter, quantity is really important. Remember, the pace of information being shared on Twitter is fast. There's a lot happening at once. So be visible, watch your timing, and your tweets will get noticed as part of the Twitter conversation. So let's talk about some best practices to keep in mind for when you're creating and sharing content on Twitter. When you're sharing content on Twitter, it's either going to be content that you've created or content you've found on other websites or blogs, which is also known as curated content. And it's important to strike a good balance of content. Definitely share your blogs, your news, your information about your business, sales, and so on. But it's okay also to share something that someone else wrote. It doesn't matter that you didn't create it. All that matters is that it's interesting to your followers. And here's a blog post that Constant Contact shared on Twitter. And here's one shared from a blog called All Twitter. The key is that both of these tweets contain links to something that our audience would find interesting. One thing to note about sharing someone else's content, make sure you tag them in the tweet. They will get a notification that someone tweeted about them, and they'll be thankful that you're sharing their work. And it's also a good idea to retweet other people, which basically means to reshare their tweets. It means that you thought their tweet was important or interesting enough to share with your followers. They'll get notified when you retweet them too. And it's also important to think about hashtags in your tweets. A hashtag is putting the pound symbol in front of a word or phrase. It's like bolding those words and calling attention to certain topics in a tweet. There are some tips to keep in mind when using hashtags, so let's explore that just a bit. So you know what a hashtag looks like, but what exactly is it? Well, to get more specific, a hashtag consists of words or phrases with no spaces in between. They're preceded by a number sign or a pound sign that's used to tie various social media posts together and relate them to a topic. Originally, hashtags were created on Twitter, but today they can be used on Pinterest, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, LinkedIn, and other networks as well. So what's the point of using a hashtag? It's to help group tweets that are part of a conversation around a live event or a certain topic. By clicking on a hashtag in a social post, that social network will automatically curate and display a feed of other messages also incorporating the same hashtag. Hashtags let you add context to a post and show that it's a part of a larger discussion. To create a hashtag, simply include the number sign in front of a word or phrase without spaces. Before you create one that's just for your business, do a search for it first, just to make sure that no one else is using it and your conversation doesn't get lost in something that's already been established. You never know what people may be using a hashtag to discuss, so always check it out. You wouldn't want to accidentally connect your business or nonprofit to a negative, controversial, or embarrassing subject, right? So don't abuse the hashtag. Save it for when you really need it. Too many hashtags looks spammy, and research has shown that engagement drops when a tweet has 2 or more hashtags. So limit your use of hashtags to 2 or less. It's kind of like don't create a hashtag that's too long. You have to keep your hashtag short and sweet, easy to spell, easy to remember. If you want to incorporate your hashtag across multiple channels, you need to consider the character restrictions of those social networks. So here's a question. While I'm on the subject of hashtags, I'd like to know what the hashtags you're using most on Twitter are. Let me know by typing them into the chat window. What are the hashtags that you're using on Twitter today or on other social media? Okay, several people have used things like hashtag infographic or hashtag video or hashtag video to show there's a link to multimedia content in the tweet. I see someone posting hashtag Hernando Chamber, hashtag MFG, hashtag Carry, hashtag Class A, hashtag Raleigh, hashtag Perks. These are all great. This shows me that you really have a good idea of how to use hashtag. Here are a few more that just came in. Hashtag running, hashtag Fashion Friday. That's all really great stuff. All right, so what should you be posting on Twitter? Well, your tweets can be just text tweets, a simple statement, a sentence, or a question that starts or contributes to a conversation, a tweet with a link back to resources like your blog post, a fact, a stat, or tips, or even a quote. All of those are great ways to put stuff out there on Twitter. You can share multimedia on Twitter very easily as well. Photos and videos now show up in the Twitter stream. So make sure that you're posting photos about your company culture, your products perhaps, your services, and your events. Make sure, too, that you share videos that you've created. And remember when I mentioned PicMonkey earlier in the Facebook section, you can use that free tool or others like it to create graphics or word images and then post them on Twitter. Whenever you're sharing visual content, make sure you call attention to what you're sharing in the text of the tweet to get people's attention. Use the words photo, video, tip, image, or guide in the tweet. And just as we did with the Facebook content exercise, when you have some time, go ahead and plan out a few tweets. Plan 4 tweets and then leave one open for something that may happen over the course of the day. The Currier Museum of Art is a nonprofit art museum in New Hampshire, and they've built a very successful Twitter following. How do they use Twitter? They inform their followers about news at the art museum. They educate by sharing fun facts. They retweet other people, and they also curate content. And so what can you do today for your business or nonprofit on Twitter? Well, start out by tweeting the minimum amount, at least 5 times a day, to be present in the Twitter feed of your followers. And again, at the end of the webinar, I'll be sharing with you a couple of the names of marketing automation tools that allow you to schedule your tweets and your posts far in advance so that you don't have to spend your time tied to your computer. Try sharing others' content. And don't forget to tag them in the tweet so they'll know you shared their stuff. This is also helping establish yourself as an industry expert because you're sharing useful content from others. And retweet someone you follow or thank someone who mentioned you. This will help to grow your relationship with other followers on Twitter who could start sharing your tweets. And by the way, if you don't feel you've got the resources to do this, contact us because we do this on behalf of our clients. We have the tools in place, and it'll help free you up to run your business. LinkedIn's the next social network we'll be talking about. LinkedIn has 340 million members, and if you haven't spent too much time on LinkedIn or you haven't started using it, LinkedIn really is a professional network that's focused on sharing industry news and tips and stats, as well as jobs and resumes and businesses. We'll be doing a webinar next month on LinkedIn. You could sign up for it. Just check our event calendar. You'll be getting a link to it later in the day. So who's using LinkedIn to market their organization? Well, many B2Cs are using it, business to consumer, using LinkedIn, 71%. As for B2Bs, and this is probably not a surprise, a majority, 91%, are using LinkedIn to promote their business. And fewer nonprofits are on LinkedIn. A little bit more than half are using it. So would LinkedIn be a good fit for you? Well, if you're a business to business and you sell products or services to other businesses, you really do need to be on LinkedIn. But there are plenty of B2Cs out there, and nonprofits do have a presence as well. Another reason to use LinkedIn is because it's a great place to showcase your expertise by being helpful. Share your blog posts, answer questions, participate in discussions, and posting links to useful information created by you or others, including digital assets like slide decks or ebooks or studies and guides. So let's talk about content on LinkedIn, what to post and when. LinkedIn is a low-volume, high-value network, and this is very similar to Facebook. So make sure that you're not taking over the news feed on LinkedIn with a lot of posts on a daily basis. Plan them out. Make sure that each one is a valuable post for your audience. You should be posting at least twice a week, but probably not more than 5 times a week. The content you post should be more formal and technical. It should be about your industry and your business, but not everything has to be completely serious. You can talk about your company's culture or your industry's culture as long as you can just show your personality. And one thing I want to note about LinkedIn, there are 2 different kinds of accounts you can have. One is a business page, and the other is a personal profile. So this is a business page, and this is a personal profile. You can use both for business purposes, but for the sake of today's webinar, I want to concentrate on what you can do with the business page. It's really important for nearly all businesses to have a business page, but for B2Bs, It's really quite critical. One of the reasons for using the business page is that someone's personal profile sticks with them. So if you have someone at your organization that's been vocal and encouraging people on LinkedIn on behalf of your business, those relationships will follow that employee if they move on. With business pages, your content and interactions belong to your business, and that's the primary difference. So you want to add content to your company page, talk about your company culture, talk about your products and services, talk about maybe some recommendations and testimonials that you had. Some of the content on LinkedIn will certainly be about your business. You can be a little more vocal on LinkedIn about your business because of the culture. So share news or announcements about your business. This is an example of an update of new features to Constant Contact's event marketing tool. Give people a look at your personality and your business personality with information about what's going on beyond your products. Share some behind-the-scenes information or photos and videos of your employees. And finally, you can share recruiting posts on LinkedIn as well. There's a video shown here that talks about what happens behind the scenes at Constant Contact and highlights some of the employees and what they think about working there. And there's a lot of education and informative posting done on LinkedIn, including blog posts and electronic publications such as guidebooks or ebooks or industry news, tips, and information. You could share blog posts and guides and facts or tips on LinkedIn as well. And so here's another opportunity for you to think about what you might post on LinkedIn. Here's a company called MarketMe Suite that uses LinkedIn to ask questions. They share multimedia information and so on. So what do you do next? Well, make sure that you've completed your profile on your business page and be active. Post at least twice a week. And then try sharing something about your industry. Now, let's move on to Google+. This network hasn't been around as long as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, but it is out there. Google has actually announced that at some point it's going to eliminate Google+. But in the meantime, it's important for you to understand that Google+ has about 500 million members. The most important reason for considering Google+ is your findability. It's Google's own social network, and so it's just plain old smart to play on their field. So are your peers on Google+? A little over half of B2Cs are using Google+, and also about the same number of B2Bs are on Google+, and fewer nonprofits are on Google+. So there are some businesses and organizations like yours using Google+ for marketing. Is it right for your business? Well, if you're a content creator, Google+ is a great place to share it. Google+ is similar to Facebook in many ways. You can post a lot of the same things on Google+ that you share on Facebook. But make sure that you have the time to nurture your Google+ page. The biggest reason to use Google+ is for its SEO value. And if you're not familiar with the term, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. A lot of people use search engines like Google to search for businesses and organizations. And if you have another social network that you're posting to, that's more content out there that's linked to you and your business. But before I go any further, I want to talk a little bit more about search engine marketing, or SEO. Google uses something complex, and it's somewhat secretive. It's called an algorithm that determines what shows up when a person searches on your business name or your brand terms. So to get found on Google, you want to produce quality content on a regular basis that includes information about you and your business and the keywords you want to be associated with in a Google search. Share that content on Google+ so you can get found. Google loves fresh content, so it's important to update regularly. One important difference between Facebook and Google Plus content is that Google, the search engine, indexes both Google Plus pages and posts, while on Facebook pages, not posts, those are indexed. Also, remember that Google is a robot, so be as descriptive as possible. Don't over-keyword everything you post there, but do make sure your content is keyword rich. Which brings me to my final point on Google+, which is that Google loves Google. And this is the main reason that you should be on Google+. You can use search engine optimization to a much greater advantage and increase your digital footprint if you utilize Google's own social network. When someone does a search on Google, Google is going to look at its own resources first, right? So a presence on Google Plus will help you to push further to the top of a search. As far as content goes, it's a medium volume, high value network like Facebook, so you should be posting a little bit more frequently there. Post at least 3 times a week, up to about 10 times a week is best practice right now. And remember, this is about increasing your findability in a Google search. So the topics and keywords in your content are important. Use the keywords you've already been using on your business's website and in your blog to help get you found. Now, let's take a look at some types of content that you can share on Google+. The content you share here can be useful information for your followers. Try sharing blog posts. I've talked about this a little bit. It's for searchability, and it can help build your credibility as an expert. You can also create events on Google+. Promote your events there and link them to your registration page. And similar to other social networks, think about sharing interesting information about your industry. Google+ is also a great place to post multimedia, like photos and videos. It posts them beautifully and displays multimedia in a large format in its newsfeed. So anything visual you share there will get noticed by your followers. So for those of you who have been using Google+, what have you found success with posting? Let me know in the chat box. Is it blog posts or photos? What have you been posting? Okay, we have a few people who have posted graphics or infographics, photos, blog posts, pictures, several that say, gee, I'm not even using Google+ yet. And that's okay. Again, it's one of the newer social media channels. So you'll get a copy of this content exercise as well. Here's an organization called Geek Girl Camp. They train women on technology and marketing. It's an educational organization, so they write a lot of blog posts to help their clients solve problems. And they share those on Google+. And they also talk about what's going on in the industry and share the latest reports, and they have lots of events as well. And they share photos as well. So Geek Girl shows off their personality by sharing funny pictures and quotes. Their audience is a lot like them, and they share the same kind of humor. So what do you do next? Well, now that you know a little bit more about Google+, share some blog posts, try sharing some multimedia, try sharing a photo or a video on Google+, and make sure that you use keywords in the blog posts or text updates or multimedia descriptions to help get you found in a search. And the last network I'll be talking about is Pinterest. Pinterest is a large social network. About 15% of all American internet users are on Pinterest. It drives more website traffic than Google+ and YouTube and LinkedIn combined. You saw that in one of the opening slides. And that's because a lot of people come to Pinterest with a shopping mindset. They're looking for items that they want to buy. Pinterest referrals spend twice as much money as referrals from Facebook. And if you haven't already jumped on the Pinterest bandwagon, now is a good time to take that step. So are your peers on Pinterest? Well, let's take a look. More than half of B2C, business to consumer folks, are on Pinterest. As far as B2Bs go, a smaller number, about 34%. And for nonprofits, that's the smallest group at all using Pinterest. So is it right for your business? Well, Pinterest can be used for different purposes depending on whether you're a retail business or not. If you're a retail business, you can definitely use Pinterest to sell your products. If you have great visuals, photos, multimedia, or graphics, or e-publications even, Pinterest is a great way to show them off. And if you aren't a retail business, you can still use Pinterest, but you're going to have to be focused on using Pinterest for search performance, branding, and awareness to promote your business or organization. And this may be one of the places where hashtags come in. High volume and high value stuff, minimum of 5 times a day, a maximum of 10 times a day. Quality images are very, very important. You don't want to have anything that's too small or stretched or fuzzy, because those will stand out in a bad way. If you're already using social media marketing for your organization, you know that visual content is huge. People engage more with photos than a text update. If you use visuals in your marketing, you should be on Pinterest, because it's how we process information. As I mentioned earlier, 90% of information transmitted to the brain is visual. Social media users are drawn to visual content. They interact and engage more with photos than text. And this is a Facebook statistic that I mentioned earlier, but it shows that people value visual content more. People like photos twice as much as they like text updates. People use images to research purchases. 67% believe that images are a very important factor when selecting and purchasing a product. Remember, people are coming to Pinterest with a shopping mindset. So those images are part of the research that they are doing on purchases. So while I'm talking about photos and Pinterest, what's been your experience? What's worked better for you? Photo content or text updates? Type your thoughts in the chat window. Yeah, people in the restaurant industry, of course, have gotten a great response anytime they share food photos. There's a marketing service company that says their photos of employees and life behind the scenes have gotten better results than text or link posts. So yeah, and all the answers that are coming in the chat box, they're saying photos are more important, and you're probably right. Okay. So if you're not sure what to share on Pinterest, here are a few ideas. If you have products or services, absolutely pin those so potential customers know what's available. If you don't sell products, share your digital assets. This is a board of constant contact guides and ebooks. Any photos or videos you have of staff or customers or what goes on behind the scenes, that's all great content to share on Pinterest. So try sharing content on Pinterest that will be entertaining and useful for your followers. And here again is another one of those content exercises. Hopefully you can put that to work for you. One business that has found great success with Pinterest is the Unique Sheep. It's a craft store that specializes in yarn and patterns. It pins its products to the boards, providing useful pins. They curate other people's content. They try how-to pins also. So what can you try today on Pinterest? Well, create a few boards to start. Focus on topics that your audience is interested in. Make it easy for them to pin content from your website. Make sure that you install the Pin It button, and you can find that on Pinterest website. That's at about.pinterest.com/goodies. You'll see that URL in the slide there on screen right now. And then provide a description and a link in your product pins as well. Make sure people can get to your stuff pretty easily. All right, so here's another poll for you. And the question is, now that you've had a review of each of the top 5 social media networks, which social media platform are you using most often for your organization? Go ahead and tap one of those buttons. We'll leave the poll open for just a few seconds more, and you'll see how everybody is using social media today. Okay, we'll leave it open a few more seconds. Is it Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or Google? Which one are you using most? All right, and here's what you said. Not very surprisingly at all, 3/4 of those that are participating are using Facebook. A good number are using LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very powerful. We generate a lot of new business referrals using LinkedIn ourselves, and Twitter is out there too. Not too terribly surprising, Pinterest and Google Plus didn't get any votes this time around. They are the smaller ones, they're the least used, so not too terribly surprised. So we've covered a lot today, and in the remaining 15 minutes, we will have time for you to ask questions, by the way, so be sure you stick around to ask more questions, and also we have a couple of special offers for you. So we've got about another 15 minutes to go. Don't go away. Make sure you take advantage of the information that's still to come. It's important to keep some do's and don'ts in mind as you use social media to market your own organization. Don't leave your social media pages or profiles empty. Fill out all the information about your organization. Add photos, add your logo. Make sure that you don't talk about yourself all the time. Balance your self-promotion with helpful, entertaining content. And don't post too little or too much now that you know what the best practices are. Be active, but don't overdo it. Don't ignore your fans. Make sure that when they respond or they retweet or tag or comment or like, say thank you and ask questions. And another part of etiquette is don't delete negative comments. Be helpful. Create a positive experience. Because if, for example, you have a situation where someone did not have a good experience, if you actively say on your social channel, if you actively respond, you'll get a whole lot more great mileage out of it than the one negative comment. Don't forget to provide context to the things you're posting, so be sure that you include a comment when you're sharing information. So beyond the content and etiquette, how will you know if you're doing social media right? How do you know? Well, you need to monitor your networks. Each of the social networks has its own analytics, and you do need to check those. But if you're new to this or you're just starting out, I want you to focus on just two things. And the first is engagement. Be mindful of the frequency, the days of the week, and times you're posting. Consider the type: text updates, photos, videos, links, and think about the 50-30-20 rule. Are you sharing engaging, useful content? Are you balancing that with content about your business? Look at your content on a regular basis. Think about what you posted. And take a look at the results that you got. Did you get likes and comments and shares? And don't worry if you got likes but no comments or shares. That's okay. Any activity is good. And it shows that people are paying attention to what you've got, to what you're sharing. Focus on the content that your audience engages with, and don't post things that they haven't or don't react to. And another benefit of that engagement, when someone likes or comments or shares your content, that activity is seen by their networks. This is digital word of mouth, and these actions are a way of endorsing you to their friends, which can get you more fans and followers. So monitor your Facebook page's likes. As you continue to post while focusing on what your audience wants and when they want it, you'll see your fan count go up. Keep in mind that this does take time. Your page isn't going to explode overnight. This is about building relationships. Building relationships with actual people doesn't happen overnight. And that's what you're doing with these social networks. You're sharing and having conversations and getting to know each other. Stick with it, and you'll build those relationships and get great results. So I mentioned that we had a couple of bonuses for you. Here's one, and that is to use marketing automation tools. One of our favorites is Hootsuite. The free version is great, and if you choose to pay for it, it's inexpensive. You can get a great Hootsuite package for under $10 a month, but the free version works just fine as well. And what Hootsuite allows you to do is post on multiple channels all at one time. It also enables you to monitor what's going on each of your feeds, so you don't have to go into each separate social media channel. You can get a view of it just by looking at this dashboard. There are other marketing automation tools out there as well, and what I would recommend is contacting me after the webinar. Send me an email and ask what those other marketing automation tools are. I'd be glad to share them with you. And here's one more very important note for you, and this has to do with email marketing. What do I mean? It's that in a recent study, 77% of consumers said they prefer to be marketed to using email marketing. Now think about that for a moment. We're all consumers, and we are all checking our email multiple times a day. There are some studies that say people are checking email 15 times a day, in many cases more. If you're working in a corporate kind of a job, the data out there today says that the average employee is checking their email at least 4 times an hour. Over the course of an 8-hour day, that's more than 30 times during the workday they're checking their email. So we prefer to be marketed to via email marketing, and that's because it's convenient, easy to access. Here's what a recent article in Forbes said. It said that customer acquisition through email has more than quadrupled in the last 4 years. Now, a few points to make about this. The first is that what this is saying is when all we hear about, it seems, every day is about Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and so on. It's email marketing that's actually helping businesses and nonprofits acquire more customers, volunteers, and donors. Social media is important for extending visibility, yes, but it's email that's actually getting more customers. In fact, in that same article, it said that customers who come to businesses via email tend to shop more and spend more. The latest data suggests that email marketing generates 40 times more revenue than Facebook and Twitter. Let me repeat that. Email marketing generates 40 times more revenue than Facebook and Twitter. You do need to use both. There's no question about it, because the social media channels are extending your visibility. But the average individual does not buy from a social media feed. They do buy from an email. A very recent study says that email marketing has a return on investment of over 43 to 1. Over 43 to 1. Here's one of our clients who generated in a new business $250,000 in new revenue in 6 months. And the only thing she used to market her business was email marketing. So not every business is going to get a result like that, clearly. This was a result of $250 back for every single dollar she spent on email. So that's a pretty extraordinary result. But I think you'd probably also be happy with a 43 to 1 return as well. If you're not getting those kinds of results, contact us after the webinar, and we'll be happy to give you a complimentary review of your email, and let's see if we can help boost your results. If you're not using email marketing yet, it starts at about $20 a month. So if you think about that ROI, if you were to spend $100, you'd get $4,300 back. So the question is, would you invest $20 a month to grow your business with a 43-to-1 return on investment? I think the answer is pretty clear. I think the answer is yes. And if you're worried about, can you do this? Well, you can. The idea really is to keep it simple. So what I recommend you do is start using the social channels that are right for your organization. Use what you learned today. Pick the networks that will work best for your organization. And I want you to know that it's okay if you're not doing everything. You don't have to be on every network. Just focus on what's going to work for your business, your audience. And I'm providing you with worksheets. You'll be getting those to help you think about what it is that you should be posting. And use those best practices and the 50-30-20 rule that I mentioned to create content and write down your ideas. And at the end of each social network section, I gave you 3 ideas for you to try. Start using those suggestions if you haven't already taken those steps. And it's important to keep tabs on what's working and what's not. Look for audience engagement with your content. What topics and content types do they like? Are you posting at the right times and frequency? Sit down and check on a regular basis. Do more of the marketing they like and less of the marketing they don't, and you'll build on the relationships of your followers and gain new ones. Now, we'll take a few moments here, in just a few moments, to answer your questions. I want to remind you that Constant Contact, while they're primarily known for email marketing, that's just one of the products and services they offer. If you take a look at this slide, not only newsletters and announcements, but also you can easily get feedback from your clients or volunteers or donors, conduct surveys. You can launch a survey in about 5 minutes time. If you're holding an event that you'd like people to register for, or even pay online if you like, you can collect registrations around the clock, 24/7. You don't have to have people answering the phone to register for an event or pay for an event that you have coming up. And you can also do offers and promotions, very similar to the ones that you know about, like Groupon and Living Social, but at a fraction of the cost. And here are some final points before we go to the Q&A area. There's a lot of additional free help. I've mentioned that you can email us, you can give us a call at any time. There are free classes and webinars available in abundance. You can check out the blogs, come to our website. Those are just 2 of 4 websites where we offer help. And I'd encourage you to visit our websites as well. So, we're trying to make it easy for you. We'd like you to take advantage of free live help, free chat, online information, and webinars, and so on. And there are no contracts at all. It's all month-to-month. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee if you choose to use Constant Contact. They free you up to do more business development or to serve your clients. So my question then becomes, of course, well, if you're not doing this already, what are you waiting for? This is really the time to start. Start today. I invite you to join our list. You'll get a free marketing newsletter each month. We'll invite you to attend upcoming events. You can attend free webinars just like this one. I mentioned we'll have a focused one on LinkedIn. That'll be early next month, and you can register for that as well. We have all of our seminars and webinars listed at this URL. It's bit.ly/marketingclasses. And that's where you'll find a list of all of the events we have open to the public. We do some private events as well. If you'd like us to conduct an event for your organization to attract more people to your business or nonprofit, we'd be happy to do that for you. Just contact us. or maybe you'd like us to do a webinar on your behalf. Would you like to be a VIP? I'll bet you are a VIP already. We run a VIP program for businesses and nonprofits just like yours. There are over 1,500 members already. We provide free help. It's free to join. There are no membership fees. We provide up to $2,000 in free services. They include things like invitations to private webinars and a free review of your monthly newsletter. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that. If you're interested, just send an email to me. All you need to do is put VIP in the subject line, and we'll send you back a short email that says, here's how it works. Really simple. If you would like to get started with Constant Contact today, you can do that by going to this URL. It's www.toolkit.today. It's not .com. Toolkit.today. And that will tie you to us, which will then give you a lot of free help, and that's not available in other places. If you're not ready to spring for the 20 bucks, that's okay. You can get started today with a 60-day free trial. No salespeople will call on you. I just put this URL in the chat box. It's trythetoolkit.com. And again, you can sign up. It'll take less than a minute. There's no credit card required at all. So I hope you'll take advantage of one of those two offers. And if you do become a paid subscriber, we'll provide you with a free reusable email template that matches the look of your website. It's a $199 value. That's for new Constant Contact subscribers using this URL, toolkit.today. And what that template would look like is, if you take a look on the left-hand side, you'll see a website. In this case, it's a fictional company called Greenfish. And what we've done is created an email template using their logo, and we've added social media buttons, and it's got their color palette as well. So that's a pretty good deal. Free is always good. And also, if you subscribe today, we'll give you an hour of free coaching to help you get your first newsletter out. You have to use this URL, toolkit.today. So altogether, that's almost $2,500 in value for signing up for a new Constant Contact subscription using toolkit.today. And if you join the VIP Partner Club, you'll also get a 30-minute free marketing consultation. That's got a value of $200, as well as monthly complimentary email campaign reviews. You just send an email to me at vip@thecountessgroup.com to get more details. So we'll stand by and answer questions. I see that there are quite a few questions that are showing up in the chat box. So again, I just want to remind you that you can sign up for a free trial of Constant Contact using that URL, trythetoolkit.com. You can sign up for new and additional classes at bit.ly/marketing classes. And that will display a calendar for you, and you can sign up for as many of the upcoming events as you'd like. If you need more information, you can always reach out to us at that phone number listed and at the email address listed as well. And as I mentioned, if you'd like to have me come in and be a speaker for your event, either on site or online, just reach out to us. You can call at that number. It's 407-242-4200. So finally, I invite you to populate the question box. I have a question before we do that, and that question is, are you interested in getting more information about our VIP Club? Okay, we will close that poll, and we'll entertain questions for the next several minutes. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Again, here's a copy of my contact information. You'll get a copy of this presentation, and hope you'll find it of value and reference it often. Go ahead and follow us on social media, and thank you again, everybody, for attending today. So we'll stand by and answer some questions.